Welcome everyone, this is Ken Quigley from Keystroke, and today we're going to be doing an Act Advantage walkthrough. I'll get into the reasons why in a minute, but before we get started, let's tend to a few housekeeping items. First off, please mute yourself and turn off any webcam streaming. I've disabled most of the services, but I may have to enable mic through the course of the webinar because Michael will be doing one of the presentations towards the end. This event is being recorded and the recording link will be sent to everyone tomorrow, so no need to take notes. Please use the chat session, which you can find at the bottom to submit any questions. We'll try to get to them at the end, but we've got a lot to cover today. And yes, for those that are ACT Premium Cloud users, we're aware that there have been some American server issues that have been up and down this morning. ACT has been providing us regular status updates, so we thank you for your patience in advance. We will be doing the webinar today on the Canadian servers. So, as of yesterday, more than 500 ACT Premium accounts associated with us were upgraded to the standard tier of ACT Advantage. Today's presentation is designed to give you a guided tour of the new features now available within your subscription, along with the benefits that they can bring to your business. For the context, over the past 7 to 8 years, and many of you guys are aware of this, we developed a number of Linktivity solutions and sold them separately as add-ons, upgrades to many of our customers. At the beginning of 2025, Keystroke sold these applications to ACT, and we have worked with them to integrate them into what is now ACT Advantage that was launched a year ago, May, which combines basically ACT Premium Cloud with our Linktivity solutions, okay? Our primary goal has always been to add value to the ACT ecosystem. Our business is predominantly selling and supporting ACT, not add-ons. So I was excited by the opportunity to deliver hundreds of dollars worth of additional value and functionality to ACT Premium Cloud users through ACT Advantage. As of yesterday, all of those tools are now available to you at no cost. Before we get started though, there's a few things I need to make sure that I communicate. First, all of the new features included with ACT Advantage apply to the web version of ACT. If you woke up this morning and are expecting changes to your desktop version, no changes apply. Second, anything you've been doing in ACT Premium Cloud continues to work exactly as it did before. This is an enhancement to your current subscription, not a replacement. The new features are entirely additive, which means nothing has been removed or taken away. Third, there are no additional costs associated with this upgrade. This was what appealed to me so much when we were negotiating with ACT. ACT Premium Cloud was priced at $360 US per user per year, and ACT Advantage still remains at the same price point. This isn't a first year thing. Don't expect the price to change next year. This is the price. The ACT Premium Cloud and ACT Advantage Standard will remain at the same price point. Existing upgrades and add-ons such as desktop synchronization, e-marketing upgrades, additional email sends, domains, and storage will continue at their existing upgrade price. And finally, today's focus will be exclusively on the features and benefits included in the standard tier of ACT Advantage. While there are additional capabilities available in the higher tiers, our goal today is to ensure everyone understands the new functionality that became available to them as part of today's upgrade. Now, anyone that knows me knows that at my heart, I am a software peddler, so I'm always happy to discuss upgrades and additional features, but today's webinar is about what's available to you at no additional cost. So, what's new? Email verification, calendar links, web forms, surveys, event management, quotes, and AI history summary. AI history summary, we did not develop. This was something developed and introduced in December last year by ACT, and we'll be covering that as our last module today. So let's get started. Okay, here we are. So again, just clicking on here, go into campaigns. Okay, and what I've done is I've highlighted this because I want to show you the campaign that you guys were all witness to because you guys, I sent you these emails and you guys all responded to by registering. Everything, as I said, I'm going to show you today is available in what you're getting. So AMA, here is a standard AMA drip campaign. We waited 15 minutes to launch, then it repeated again. On the 20th, we sent out a different one, and then 23rd, and then finally yesterday, we sent out the final reminder. And we've had over 120 people register for this event. So the proof is in the pudding, it worked. And let me just go into the first email, which most of you guys will likely remember. Okay, so all of these things are available to you and will continue to be. So the standard e-marketing includes up to 2,500 emails per month. Support for automatic drip campaigns, which I just showed you. The same easy to use drag and drop template editor, which is this, with mobile and desktop previews, and a visual campaign designer, which is this, okay? So what is new? What is new is email list verification, okay? So we go to additional features, and all of these features that you see here are what we developed and is now available, okay? So I click on additional features, we click on email list verification, okay? And we've got um, the list of all the previous groups that I have done, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break through what, or break down what some of the specs are for this service. So unlike Act Premium Cloud, Act Advantage includes 250 contact verifications each month, which equates to approximately 10% of the monthly email sending allocation. So as I said, you get 2,500 emails, you get 250 scans per month. The logic is that they're looking to um, budget you at around 10% of your distribution list per month. So over the course of 10 months, you'll be able to cover your list. And the reason for this is email list verification is not a one-off thing, it is maintenance. So they want to allow each tier to have a budget that's approximately 10%, okay, of their entire distribution list. Okay, so let's take a look at how this works. So what I'm going to do is I've created a group. I'm going to click on new, and I'm just going to call this the AAA group. And I'm going to click on here. So this, I've given it a name. I'm going to click on here. I'm going to type this, copy this in. It's right here. I'm going to select it. So now I've got the name, I've assigned it the group because everything in through the API generally will work through groups. AMA, that's how the main segmentation goes. So you can't scan your whole list. So you're gonna pick which group to target. And then scan mode, only process unverified contacts. We're actually going to say process all contacts. And then this is list verification schedule. So you can say once, daily, monthly. So getting back to the 10% per month, you can actually set up monthly for your group. And let's say it has 2,500 contacts in it. That's your main distribution group. You can set it up to scan only unprocessed contacts. And what it will do is it will scan the first 250, and then the next month it will scan the next 250, and so on and so forth, until by the 10th month, it's gone through your whole list. And then at that point, you'll want to change it either to process all contacts, okay, and then kill the schedule. But you can also just keep it on only unprocessed ones, and that way new ones that get added to your list will be processed automatically. But for today's purpose, I'm just going to click on save. Okay. Now I can either go back to the list or I can just jump into this and click on run. And I've got a log here, but I'm just going to click on start. Now the beauty of this is it will run about 1 to 3 contact scans per second. So if you've got 250, you're going to be able to go through your entire allotment in about 2 minutes. Okay. Now I've scanned 41 contacts, and it has determined that 32 are valid, 2 are accept all, and 3 were skipped. Just so you understand, accept all is kind of like a catch-all, so anything at domain.com. Many domains will set that up so that people don't lose emails based on a typo or anything like that. So if you've got an email that may have a typo in it, but the domain is being configured to kind of deliver it anyway, then that will come up as an accept all. And then what you can do is you can create a list of all the contacts that are report back as invalid. And then instead of trying to do a whitelist approach, and a whitelist approach is where you only email people with a satisfactory email status. I strongly recommend doing the opposite. What I recommend doing is going into the marketing. Let's just go into that last campaign. You create a group of the ones that have been reported back as invalid. And then instead of trying to whitelist everything, go in and say exclusions. And you see here that I've got the blacklist here. I've created a group called blacklist. I add it to every single campaign. So people that have been scanned as invalid don't get included in any campaigns. Also, for my poor Sylvia, who represents our French customers, I don't send out English communication, so I always add this as well. Okay. She's lectured me many times over the years. So finally, instead of trying to improve my behavior, I built in the systemic solution. Okay. So that is the change to AMA, not AMA in particular, but a supplemental email verification system, which I think we can all understand the value of, because the average list will churn between 15 and 20% per year. So before you get into AMA, even if it's a small list, you want to make sure that you run at least the first few scans on your list to make sure that your sender reputation doesn't get too negatively impacted by too many bounces. And it's not just sender reputation, because maybe you're willing to just wing it and suffer the consequences. But if you have a sustained bounce rate of over 5%, you can even have your AMA account suspended and ultimately canceled if you don't remediate. Okay, so it's very important to maintain this for both your sender reputation, your overall campaign deliverability, and ultimately for the integrity of your account. Okay, now the next one, changing gears, we're going to go back here. And this one is probably one of the most popular ones because everyone can relate to it. And that is email, or the online appointment scheduling. You'll hear me call it calendar links. That's my own jargon here, but you go here, and this is the basic setup. So I'm going to go through and show you guys how to configure them all. I'm going to show you in a much more tangible way. But let's get into this. Most business communications happen through email, and one of the biggest causes of delay is simply trying to find a time to meet. We've all experienced the endless back and forth, emails trying to coordinate schedules. With Calendar Link, those delays disappear. Instead of email ping pong, prospects can simply click on a calendar link, view your availability, and book the earliest convenient time. So let's see what that actually looks like. So I'm going to bring up my own. Okay. So the first thing is, obviously, I've got a fair bit going on today, but let's just review what is available. You immediately, as a prospect, can click on a particular day. You can change the view from daily to weekly. Okay. You can change the time zone. You can do all of this. You'll even have the ability to do blackout lists, and let's just show you that. There's nothing available all week. Why? Because I've created a blackout list because I'm going on vacation as of this Friday. Okay, so I've blocked out anyone's ability to book an appointment with me. Now, let's just take a quick look. You can see my available spots. Um, One of the things that you've got as an advantage over something like Calendly was first to market with this, and obviously they succeeded fantastically. They've got a $3 billion market capitalization, so they're a massive company. But the value of integrating it with CRMs is really quite unique. Okay, one, it's obviously written immediately. Actually, let's back up. Let's just go straight to booking an appointment. So I click on here. So any of my customers or prospects can see this time available. I can use custom activity types within Act. And if any of you guys have ever customized your activities, you know that it's nice to be able to use custom activities rather than just simply, call, to do, meeting, appointment. I've actually got conference call, put in the subject, put in the details, and then here's where you put in your standard contact information. And you can control whether or not priority is something that's visible. But I think that's a good idea because some people may just be booking it for a standard consult, whereas there might be higher priority ones. Now, when they enter this in, the moment that you see how it's the asterisk for the email is required, it's going to do a check against your database to see if there's an existing email. And if there is, it will update that existing contact, create an appointment in your calendar, and link it to that contact. If that email doesn't exist, it's going to create a contact, entirely new contact, with all of this information. Now, let me just give you a proviso. If they use a personal email that you don't have in your database, it's going to think it's a new contact when in fact their name may be in there under a different email. So that's the only risk that you've got to be mindful of. So if you recognize the name, but it's created a new contact, that's why. Okay. So you've got the options. You can see the calendar in daily or weekly view. Um, and this gets booked directly into Act. Once the meeting is booked, the appointment is immediately written to the calendar. The customer will get an email confirmation with an ICS calendar file, so they can click on it and it goes directly into their Outlook, and you get an instant notification. Okay. Now, the flexibility also includes, as I said, setting blackout dates for times, vacations, holidays, or personal commitments. Those don't necessarily have to be dates. They can be time blocks. You may not want to create an appointment for your lunch every single day, but with this, you can actually put a recurring lunchtime blackout. Okay. You can also define your working hours. So let's take a look at that. So I can click on here, my availability. Okay, I can set from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but I can also change my times to each and every single day. So if I have a regular commitment like I do on Wednesday morning, I can actually start it a little bit later. Okay, so I can configure each and every single day. I can configure the alarm time if necessary, buffer time. I may not want to have people booking meetings with me back to back to back because there may not be breathing room or prep time available. Okay. Time zone, it's basically, most companies will work in the same time zone. So say inherited from what's set at the workspace. And then here's where you can add in blacklist days, and they can be repeating, things like December 25th and December 26th and January 1st. Those days are going to not change each year, so you can add those in as recurring. And that is how it appears. Now, what is the benefit of adding in the into the uh, into a CRM, like the integration? Well, there's a couple. One, new contacts, as I mentioned, are automatically added to Act. Calendly doesn't necessarily do that. It creates a separate list, but doesn't add it into your database. Booked contacts can be grouped. So you get back into groups here. They can be grouped into a single um, group that you configure that all people booking appointments with you can go. So you can actually build an automatic nurture campaign. Not going to get into how to configure that, but you can. So every person that gets added to that, they can receive a number of drips relating to nurturing them in whatever way is relevant for your business. Okay. And then unlike Outlook-based scheduling tools, you can actually leverage, as I said, your own custom activities. But here is something cool I'm going to give you guys a heads up on. There are a lot of people that, like in the service industry, that actually make their living off of their time. So their time is their main tool of the trade. So if you're in the service business, anytime that someone books with you, you have to monetize it in some way or another. So whether you're a consultant, whether you're in personal services, a chiropractor, or a dog walker, a tradesperson, whichever, you can't be giving away your time. So what this program actually does, and it will be visible in I think in the next two releases, not what's being released tomorrow, which is APC 2615, but I think by version 2017, maybe even as early in 2 weeks, you will be able to do this with your personal calendar, where you can actually set a charge. So when people book a meeting with you, they actually have to pay as they're checking out. Okay, so think about it. If you are a dog walker or a dog groomer, and someone wants to book a meeting with you, you can actually set up an e-commerce website, okay, with this calendar, and they book a time with you, and they have to pay for it while they're doing the booking. Okay, so suddenly you've got an e-commerce website for the same cost as what you were previously paying for Act Premium Cloud. So we think that that is a huge advantage. Okay, I can't demo that particular part because it's not available yet. We will be submitting that final build on Tuesday, and then hopefully, as I said, it'll be in the next one or two releases. So good news on that front. Okay, now we're going at a good clip, but let's go to the next one. The next one is web forms. So web forms is, as you might guess, one of the most popular ones that you can have out there. Okay, so just about every website has a web form, whether it's contact us page, request for a quote, customer feedback, survey. Web forms are one of the most common ways businesses collect information online. What makes Act web forms different is what happens after the form submitted. Most web forms simply send an email to someone's inbox. Whether you're using WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, they will typically have some kind of forms module that's included free with the CMS, whether it's Breezing or something else. WooForms, I think, has a free version as well. But all the feedback just gets dropped into people's inbox, and then you have to manually complete the workflow after that. With Act, the information doesn't end up in your inbox, it goes directly to your CRM. So let's take a look. We've got here, let's pull up our web form page, okay? And this is what it can look like, okay? You've got a standard form, and it could be as detailed as this. You can also have a page that's dedicated to this. And this, what we've done is we have just built a page, added in what's called an iframe into the page, and dropped the text in here. So what does that look like? If I go back here and I say the job opening, let's go into here. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this because we don't have time for it, but let's take a look at, I can either create a link here, I can create a short link here, but let's go back to this here and create a link. And then what I can do is I can go back to a page like this, and I can add it in as a button, okay? So that you click on it and the page will pop up as a modal, okay? Or I can take this information and I click on embed code. Now, for most of you, you're looking at this and say, God, keep this away from me. All you're gonna do is you're gonna copy this, and in the iframe part of your website, okay, you're just going to put in that. You're just going to paste it in, okay? And this is all the source code that you need. And if you just enter it into an iframe, if you've never gone into the back end of your website, talk to your web developer about this, but it's not overly complex. You simply add an iframe or what's called an embedded HTML, and you just drop this thing, save it, and it will automatically appear like this. Now you can set it up so that it blends in. There's all kinds of controls you can do to seamlessly integrate it. Like, take a look at this. I built this in as a transparency, so it would actually blend into the color theme and design theme of the website without looking like it's a third-party tool. Okay, so like the calendar, new contacts that fill this out are automatically added to the database. Existing ones are updated. Follow-up activities can be created instantly. So you can go back here, okay, and scroll down here and say automatically create an activity. Okay, so you can immediately have the activity. The contact will be either created or updated. All of their information will be written to their history, and then you can have an activity appear in your calendar. As I see every single day, I'll see new activities that are all triggered from our web forms on our website. Okay. Now compare that to just an email where you've got to then copy and paste, then create the activity, then delegate. This does it all in one step. Okay. And then, as I said before, with calendars, you can automatically be segmented and then open up in a different or segmented, added to a different campaign. Sorry, I lost my thought there. Okay. Now here's one thing I'm going to benefit of AMA, okay, of having this integrated with AMA. You see up here, allow passing in contact ID, skipping in the contact details. Now, you look at that, and that's not going to send anyone to their marketing place. But if you've got a form, because we typically understand web forms as something that we embed into the website, but you can also email a form. Okay, so let's say you send out an email, and it looks like this. Okay, this handsome gentleman here sent out this email, and I've got all this message, and click to start the survey. Okay, now watch what happens. I can actually create it so that because it's CRM integrated, I can actually, every single time I do a merge and send out a new form or a new survey, and we're going to cover surveys soon, I can actually set it up so that every single person gets a personalized link. So when they click on it, it merges in my contact information right off the bat. Okay. Why is that important? Well, I told you about that issue. If someone uses the wrong email, it will create a second contact. Also, this increases the completion rate because part of this information is automatically done. They can't edit it. Now they can immediately start working on the questions that you want them to answer. Okay, so this does really enhance the technology of it, and it will make others think that you're cool. Okay, now let's get into some of the other ones because I actually have some real life. Let's go back to the forms. Okay, I'm going to embarrass my wife if she is on this because we've been using Victoria's, our daughter, and her Sweet 16 is in less than a month. So we've been using this technology. So let me just show you here. So here's Victoria's Sweet 16, and we've created this and sent it out, and we were able to get people's responses. So um, we've got that. What we have done, though, to simplify it, and I'm just going to show you this technology. So I'm going to put in Chris Huffman. Will you join us? I say yes. Watch what happens. Boom. Automatically, two more questions appear. Now, obviously, Sweet 16 is not something that everyone's going to have a business use case for. But if you want to create a form that has what we call dynamic skip logic, you can do so. Also available in surveys, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you can actually introduce it where based on what they answer, it will complete, it will present the appropriate relevant questions. So by doing that, you're really creating a much higher completion rate because people are not going to be overwhelmed with questions that don't relate to them. And the people that it does relate to them, they're going to welcome the questions. Okay. So now let's take a look at how these results panned out. We can go to the reporting. Okay. We can see here we got 20 people reporting. Now, this is a birthday party, so take it for what it's worth. There's obviously a lot more KPIs that we can review, but what we can do is we've got the results here, and we can see the actual submissions down there. Okay, I'm going to go through them rather quickly. And let's see, we can also build, let's see, okay, what we can also, and by the way, just like I've talked before, every person that responds goes into a group, just like Calendar, and that can trigger a webinar, or sorry, a campaign. But there is one cool feature, two more cool features I want to show you. Okay, one is that you can actually use this as a disclaimer for your website. So I created this form. I made it look as legal as I can. I even created the field to be in what's called print mode, and people will complete this. So imagine this is a dog grooming waiver. Your first time customer, you fill this out, and then down here, you can actually complete a digital signature. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. Why is this useful? It's useful because when you submit this contact will be created in the database. They will have a history of all the questions that they answered up here. If you added in questions here, like your dog's name, dog's age, dog's breed, and the digital signature will be saved in a signed PDF contract. Okay, you still get the captcha down here to protect your database from being hit with too many bots. But here is something that is a very unique need that really can only be relevant to someone in using a web form integrated with CRM. Okay, so I think that's cool. Now the last one relating to web forms is payments. Yes, payments. This has only been out for the last couple of weeks. So what you can do is, let's say that you're running a membership of some sort, or let's just even imagine the handheld contact where there's one price for one product. What you can do is you can have new customers fill this out, okay, and then when they click on submit, they will actually have a pop-up screen that will tell them, that will process their payment. Okay, now this isn't a sophisticated e-commerce tool. It doesn't allow variations, different pricings, different quantities, but there's a lot of people that may just sell things like memberships where there's only one thing relevant to them. Okay, and this allows you to, again, have another e-commerce component set up free of charge. Okay, that's included, and all you got to do is configure it. And again, just to kind of show you here, if I go to the dog grooming, this is how simple it is. I scroll down, I add a value here. That's it. Okay, add a value and save, and act. All of these programs have a integrated PayPal service that you can set up. If you don't have a PayPal service, Act, as of a few weeks ago, now offers payment processing themselves. Very competitive rates. We can deal with that separately. Actually, if you go to my website here and click on blog, you can scroll down and read about Get Paid Faster without CRM. So it's only like 4 blogs from the top. Okay, now let's move on to surveys. So surveys, collecting customer feedback, and I'm just going to go back here under additional tools. Okay, go to online surveys. Now, online surveys, think of this in many ways like web forms. It has dynamic capabilities, but there's one big thing to understand is that web forms are typically integrated into a web page. So the people visiting it are like omnidirectional. They're coming from all different sources based on your marketing, whereas surveys are typically directly delivered by email. So that same merge feature that I showed you earlier, that would be very appropriate for this. But surveys are a little different because they actually operate like a walkthrough wizard. Okay, so to give you an example of this, I click on here. Here is a standard, and I can just put in here, good old Chris Huffman again. Okay, so I've got all of these questions. Now, what is the difference? Like, why would I choose a survey over a form? Well, one, I can build in the same kind of skip logic, so I can jump from here to here. Watch what happens. If I say, no, not at all, continue, it goes right to the end. Okay, see here, it jumped right over that because this is the thing about surveys, and I've just indicated I don't eat them. But if I go the opposite end and I say, yes, I love them, I eat them daily, I love eating them quite a bit. I click on, now I go to the frequency. Now, this isn't going to be a webinar on fruit surveys, but what I have configured is I've configured that in this, the second that I indicate that, yes, I love them, I have planted a trigger in this survey. Let me see if I've got this here, fruit feelings, okay? And in the questions, I've said right here, now again, this looks probably more technical than it needs to, but you see, no, not really, go to the end. Yes, very much, schedule a follow-up activity. Okay, so just because I've scheduled that or I've indicated that answer, this person has self-identified as a great prospect for me, and ACT is going to suddenly have a scheduled follow-up. I'm going to be notified that they've completed the survey, and they're going to be amongst all the other survey results that I get. But because this has been identified as a high prospect for me, it's actually scheduled a follow-up for me in my CRM. So it's great. We can talk at a high level about how great customer feedback is and harvesting and all of that. But from a marketing standpoint, you can really identify people quite well using this. Okay. Now, let's talk about some of the advantages um, of the CRM integration, because we've talked about this, creating follow-up activities. Um, this is included at no additional cost. If you guys have ever looked at services like SurveyMonkey and others, they cost as much as Active themselves. Okay, and this is being included at no extra cost. You get the automatic contact creation like the other two services that we discussed. Okay, all of their feedback gets written directly to the contact history. So when people look up an individual contact, they can actually review the history and see how they responded to a survey. That is not going to be available in a third-party service that has no information written to the contact. Okay. You can also have things like automatic field updates where we'll update a field, making things even more apparent. Okay. You get the segmentation. Everyone that fills it out gets into a group. Okay. And as I said, identifying hot prospects. You can also build surveys. I can go here and I can say survey manager. I can build a survey and assign it to someone else on my team. Okay, so let's say that someone like Shannon comes to me and says, "I want to build a customer satisfaction survey. I'm more familiar with the process." She tells me which one. I could build it for her, assign it to her, and it's essentially her. She gets all the feedback, and she can go in and edit it further. Okay, and that is the power of having surveys built directly in. Okay, the next one is events. Now, events on one level is probably the most obscure, but you're all here because of it. Okay. Every single one of you that signed up today are here because you filled out a sign up form that we distributed to you. Okay. So let's think about it. If your organization hosts webinars, training sessions, customer events, virtual presentations, ActAdvantage event management can dramatically reduce the time and effort required to plan, promote, and manage them. Everyone that's in attendance today, as I said, came here through that sign up page. So let's take a look at a sample sign up page. Okay. So I can create this. Well, again, we'll bring up good old Chris Huffman. Okay. Not a robot. Now, as I am, you notice that this takes a little bit longer, okay? But now you've got the download ICS, which you guys have all saw, okay? But let's take a look at what happens if I go to Chris Huffman, okay? And I go to this one, and I go to, you can see here that I've got a activity created, okay? Linked to the webinar, and I've got, at 1:42, which is the same minute, I can see the history recording. That's how fast it is with the web API. So how is it practical? Like, well, how does this really, really benefit me? Well, I can go here, go back here. If I want to create an event, I could just simply go in here, online event management. Okay, I can go in here. I name the activity. I can actually have multiple activities. So if you wanted to create a series, okay? Or if you wanted to offer the same thing on multiple dates and allow people to choose it, you can do that. You set the date. Now, here's something that isn't very well known. When you set the time in here, it will write that activity to act. If you change the time or date, okay, here or in act, it will automatically synchronize those changes. Okay, so for any reason you need to change that, it will be updated in both places. Okay, here's the activity type. Here is the meeting location. Now, why is this important? It is important because, when you have a meeting with someone, you send out an invitation. There's a direct invitation. You know that they're going to show up because they have agreed to. If you are sending out an invite, okay, and you provide this share link automatically, you don't know how many people are going to join because you've given them the keys to the event. But now, by putting this here, only the people that register will be sent this event location. So you're going to know precisely how many people registered, and you're going to know that each one of them have been distributed this location. So there'll be no surprises. You may get fewer than you expect, but you're not going to get more than what registered. Okay. I always recommend make the barrier to entry as small as possible. Keep just the 2 fields. Okay. Now what I did, okay, is that I had an automatic reminder go out. Okay, and let me just go here, click on events. Okay, so this went out exactly an hour before the meeting. Okay, so I got a notification this went out. Actually, I had several people book even after that. Okay, so I got confirmation that this went out, and um, everyone was updated, and I was able to send out that join link one more time in case they had lost it. This really helps optimize the attendance. So I created the form. I can use different sign up design pages. I can, change colors. I'm not going to, this kind of tedious, but I can really design it, and I can always just go through and check the preview to see if it's the way that I look. I can add borders, you name it, whatever images I want. Okay, but that's, and what really is nice is if you have a meeting service, okay, a meeting service is going to cost $20, $30 a month. If you try to get a webinar service, okay, it doesn't matter whether you're using Zoom, you're using GoTo, or you're using Adobe or anything else, they will typically cost 5 to 10 times as much. I remember GoToWebinar, the full package was like $250 a month. Those features that they provide, okay, are all included in event management. Okay, so you can use a very inexpensive service to have and to bridge the gap between a meeting service and a webinar service. So you're going to go from a $30 service to a $250 service for the cost of nothing because this bridges the gap. Plus, unlike the webinar services where it harvests all the signups in a separate list, these all get directly written to your app and organized in a group, and obviously better for easier follow-up. Okay, so as I said at the beginning, this is kind of an easy sell because you're all here today because of this. Okay, so now let's go to the crown jewel. The crown jewel, when we were building quotes, because it's great to have marketing. Everyone loves to fill the top of the funnel, but at some point you're going to have to engage the customers with a sales proposal, and that's what interactive quotes does. Okay, so we need to have a way that doesn't just render quotes, and this has been the ACT approach for many years, where they provide you a Word Excel template, and it basically renders it into a PDF that you can deliver. That's it. All you're doing is creating an email attachment, and once it's out of your sent items, you have no idea how the customer is engaging with it. This is very different. This allows you to create very sophisticated yet easy to use quoting, okay, that the customers can engage with, and you will have complete visibility of that. So the first thing is I'm going to take this top quote here. I'm going to click on it because it's to our friend Chris Huffman. And you can see here that we've got, I gave it a name. It's automatically generated a quote number. Now, we don't use this in production. We use link to quotes separately because we've been using it for years before Active Advantage. I can set the currency. You can set multiple currencies. You can actually set multiple languages as well. You can add the applicable tax. This is a demo environment, so I haven't added them. Okay. And this will automatically, whatever quote you create, it will automatically create a corresponding opportunity in your app and have things like the cycle, the estimated close date, all reflect what you're setting here. Okay. Now there's all kinds of features. I've done 1 and 2 hour webinars on quotes alone. Obviously, we don't have the time for that today, but you can have all kinds of automation features where it will automatically set the estimated close date, X number of days out. It will when you send it, you can automatically have it go out, send out reminders, send out like what we've got is when we create a quote, it will automatically schedule a follow-up in 5 days. So literally nothing slips through the cracks. Okay, but let's get into the creating a quote. So here is a quote. I have, as you can see here, I've got the actual product, and then I've got the sync here, okay, the desktop sync, which is another product. Then what I've done is I've added in a graphic, and then I've added in a video. Yes, you can actually include videos. And if you see here on the products, I've got full verbose descriptions here. I've got product images, so it includes the product image or the tile image, or imagine if you're selling doors or windows, being able to include like a casement window right in the line description, and then a product link. Okay, so that you can actually have the ability so people can click on the quote and click through to another more detailed page. Now, I can say here is the list price, here is the adjusted price. I can actually build in, I can make the quantity editable, because one of the biggest, most tedious things in sales, you send out a quote, especially in our business, when we send out a quote, customer asks for five licenses, they come back and say, actually, can you adjust the quote for 4 or maybe 6 or whatever? Wouldn't it be nice if they can actually engage with the quote and make those adjustments themselves? Okay. And then what you can also do is add in, I'm going to make this optional, the desktop sync, make it optional. And then I'm going to send out the quote. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. At this point, I'm going to click on, let's see, preview. And here's what the quote looks like. So you have all your own branding. You'll notice here that I've matched up the color perfectly because I've got the RGB codes. I can have it really reflect professionally. I can select which fields I want it to display. I can have bill to and ship to if I want, but I don't. I can put in our contact information here. Now you can see here, this is where I can actually change the quantities. Okay. Now I've done this. You can click on here is the little tile. I can click on here and it will automatically go out to the product page so I can read more about that, but let's go back here. Okay, remember I said I added this as an upgrade and the customer said, yeah, I don't really need that. And I remove it and suddenly it's removed from the quote. Why is this important? Well, it eliminates the back and forth and allows the people to customize the quote the way they want and accept it immediately. Okay, here is the image that I added in just to kind of dress it up. And here is even like if you've got some digital collateral of videos, product videos or services and things like that, you can actually include it right in the quote and it pops up and you've got the video going right inside. So really high engagement. But let's take a look at what else we've got. We've got the ability to accept this, put in our names, our emails, accept and pay. Okay, you can use either the PayPal or the act payment processing, because when are people most likely to pay? It's when they're excited and they're accepting their quote. That's when they're making the commitment. Let's make this whole workflow as frictionless as possible. You deliver it, they can cater it to their own needs, they can accept it online and pay it online, all in one easy step. Okay, so that's really key, and this is all mobile responsive, so they can do it all from their phone. Everything really make them be able to manage the quote as they wish, consume it on whatever device they need to, because you're trying to reduce the friction to acceptance. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, now what you don't always know is when you're a sales rep, you don't know when to follow up. I mean, you could schedule something automatically in 5 days, but how do you know to when to follow up? Well, let's take a look here. Chris Huffman. Okay. Just, oh, that was in preview. So let's go to, okay. Because what it does is it doesn't want to record a click through if you're in the same session. Okay. So now I'm viewing this in Firefox. And if I go back and I take a look at the activity dashboard, I see that a contact is viewed it 11 seconds ago. Why is that valuable? For two reasons. One, if I send out a quote, I have no idea, if it's just a PDF, I have no idea if they have, when they open it, how often they opened it, if they've passed it around the office, because I can actually get a report of every single time they click on it, okay, to see the level of interest, okay. And conversely, if I send it out and a week later I see that they haven't looked at it, that's another reason to follow up, because that could slip through the cracks and you can have a solid opportunity suddenly evaporate, based on one, missed email. Okay. So this is something that really, really helps salespeople, arms them with the tools to, one, prepare a quote very quickly, two, deliver it, three, know the customer's engagement, because you know precisely when they're opening it, they can accept it online, and they will be notified when it gets accepted as well. Okay. I know I kind of rushed through that, but we've got one section left to go, and that is AI history summary. Now I'm just going to, before I pivot over to that, I want to show you something here. Okay, there's a couple of features we didn't cover today. Project management is only available in the second and third tiers, so we didn't cover that. Online portal is only available free with the top tier of Ultimate, but website chat is where, if you go to my website here, you see here, okay, you've got the ability to distribute chat requests across all the different people on your team. The reason I didn't include that is that the standard tier only allows one user. So there really isn't that kind of load distribution with the chat service in the standard tier. So we didn't really cover it. So I didn't want to burn up a whole lot of time, because I want to be responsible with the amount of time I'm asking of you. Okay. So the last thing that we're going to cover is contact insights. Now, Lubs, if you can, let me just go here, allow mic. Okay, Lubs, can you speak up so I can see you?
I'm here.
Okay, who's talking?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's not showing me.
I can't share my screen though.
Yeah, I've got to make you the presenter.
Okay.
There's a lot of people here. Oh, there you are. Okay, so make presenter. Okay, now you can share your screen.
Thank you. And let me know once you see my X screen.
I see your screen. Fire away.
Okay, cool. So once again, just to make sure we're respecting everybody's time, this should only take a few minutes here, but I wanted to show you how the history summary works with using AI in the cloud to basically summarize your histories. Okay, so I created a couple contacts here that have some histories going out the last few months through emails. So let's just take a look at those contacts. Okay. Let's go here. And if we go to that person's history tab, as we see here, we see a lot of histories. So there's actually 34, and the majority of those are emails, as we see here. So I can go into each one of these and look at the preview over here to see what the email is. But let's say like I'm the project manager, or in my case, I'm the support manager, or in Ken's case, he's the president of the company, and he wants to get a quick overview of what's happened over these last month, 2 months, 3 months of interactions between the client and a support rep. Obviously you can go through each history. That's very time consuming. And even then it's tough to sort of get a good summary of what's happening. So all you have to do now in the web, and this is only in the web version, not the desktop. When you're on the history tab, there's this going to be this summarize history button. You click that, you'll get a little drawer opening to the right, and it'll take a little bit of time to do that, depending on how many histories you have there. But basically, it's going to look through all those histories and then quickly summarize those in a little paragraph and outline to what what you number one what was done, and then sort of maybe next steps if you've talked about those in the emails. So as you see here, overview of what's happened, key moments. So it's going to point out some of the key moments through those emails that have happened, and it'll also have the dates of those key moments in chronological order. And then it's going to search through those and also find the best next steps for any of that information as well. Okay. Now, the nice thing from here is you can copy and paste this into a Word document, into an email to the client to say, hey, this is the summary of what we've done so far. Or you can even just put it right onto the Act record with this little button here which says Save as Note. When you click that, it's going to say Saved as a Note. Click OK. I'm going to go to my Notes tab. And then that whole summary was copied as a note with today's date and time. Okay. And once again, I'm just going to do another client here real quick, just to show you the, how it happens here. So Mr. Justin Case, looking good there. We're going to summarize his history. And once again, it takes maybe less than a minute, I think, really, to summarize this, these histories. And this one has 59 here, so it may take a few seconds longer versus I think what we have 34. And there we go. So it's already up there. And this one actually involves multiple people. So there's multiple people throughout the emails. So not only the client, but there's a client's IT person and another rep from another company. So it actually lets you know sort of who's involved here, what they're involved with. Okay. So it gives a really great summary. It's really, it took 30 seconds here maybe to summarize this, where if you went through all those emails, 59 emails to try to get up to speed with what's happening, that's going to take you almost, better part of a couple hours. So it's just a huge time saver, and it's get a nice outline form, which you can then send to any appropriate parties who might need to, once again, get up to speed with what's happening with the projects or whatever you're going to be doing with the particular client. So, and that's really it. So it's something simple, but very powerful.
Excellent. Thank you, Lubs. And
yeah,
I see that I will continue to regret giving any speaking parts, as you love to showcase pictures of me that are not super flattering. Anyway, it's fantastic at the Christmas party. Okay, so let's jump into some of the questions. Chris asked, can verification results be written back to the contact record via AMA? Great question. What it does is, I'm going to take over the screen again. So what it does is it actually updates a field in your database. Okay, so it creates this and it will score everyone as either valid, accept all, invalid, unknown, or valid. Okay, we've added error because sometimes there could be a server error. The way that we do the email validations, it makes a telnet request to the server, and sometimes some mail servers will have security against that, so we'll block it so it will return an error. Okay. But that's it. So now, obviously, you will have to, the setup process for this creates the field, it creates the dropdown, but you will have to add it to your layout. So just be mindful of that. Next question. Okay. Will this function pick up scam emails? The email may be active, but the domain they represent is not. I think what we're talking about is maybe active spam traps. If it is a valid spam trap, it will probably respond as either accept all or something like that. I can't guarantee it because I'm not sure there is one answer, but it's mostly about verification, not whether or not it's a spam trap email. Okay. How do you get email to show up in additional features? Thank you for asking that, Chris. If the reason that some people are not going to see email list verification is because it is a consumption item. It has a consumption cost. So you don't want some person that is not involved in marketing going in and saying, hey, I wonder how this works, and suddenly burn through your entire month's scan budget. So By default, it is available only to the administrator. The administrator can then assign that to someone that should be in charge. Okay, but if you don't see it, it's because you either haven't been assigned it or you're not an administrator. Good question. Okay, are all the additional features shown in the presentations available to us? The answer is yes, except the ones I was talking to you about. Project management, customer portal, website chat is, but on a lighter basis because you're not able to support multiple websites or support multiple users. But everything along here is. How reliable are your servers for these integrated forms? We rely on them. We've relied on them for many, many years, and we don't get error messages. Now, I will tell you this, it is an API service. So you are connecting to the API and you're not just spitting out results on on an inbox email. So when you're submitting, there will be a little bit of more churn time than you would through something that just delivers results to an inbox. That you have to be mindful of. Also, if you create a form, and I've warned people about this, that have tons and tons of mapped fields and questions and things like that. Well, the questions aren't an issue because they get rendered as part of your history. But if you mapped a lot of fields, every single one of those fields represents a potential failed endpoint. Okay, so be very judicious in terms of how many fields you actually map to and whether or not it's necessary, because that will also create a little bit of extra laggage. But for our purposes, because we know what kind of balance to use, we never get issues. Okay. I don't see any additional features. I only have the online appointment scheduling and interactive quotes. I don't know if you're the Act administrator, so you may want to talk to your Act administrator about that because they may have to assign you additional privileges. Can open quotes and clicks automatically trigger activities? They cannot automatically trigger activities. You do have to monitor the dashboard. Okay, so there isn't something where someone will click on a quote and it'll create an activity. But you can create a certain amount of automation, one where it will create an activity after you send a quote, after you create a quote, a number of days before the quote expires, and then immediately create an activity after it's accepted, but not if it's just clicked on. If we use forms and it creates contacts automatically, are they then also created in the desktop version? The desktop version reflects whatever's in the web version. So when you sync, it will appear as a new contact and in the appropriate groups as processed by the web version. Summarize history option is not showing up. Does an update need to be run to activate it? No, I tried logging out and logging back in. Okay, given some of the issues today, I would check again tomorrow. Okay, does email history capture now work with Outlook New? The email history capture, if you're using the integrated service, which means it is server-based, will work with the new Outlook. If you try to use a plugin like Act for Outlook or the previous Outlook integration available with Act, it will not, okay, because it's a plugin and the new Outlook is web-based and does not support a plugin. Is there time that the project management portion can be viewed via the webinar? Send me an email, Brian, and I'll send you a link to a webinar I've done in the past. I love the project management features. I'd love to show it to you. Okay, I'm the administrator and I don't have anything listed under marketing on your screen. Marketing here, okay, is just for the AMA, okay? Nothing has changed here with the upgrade from yesterday. It's all additional features. Okay, if you have any questions about that, send an email to service@kqc.ca. Okay, and then if you're looking at this, you should see at least these ones here. Now, I did forget one thing. I didn't cover URL shortener just because it is really only used by marketing geeks. Marketing geeks that like to have a services like Bitly or URL shorteners will use them for social media. They'll take long, ugly URLs and compact them into small, friendlier ones. A lot of our programs have this built in. Okay, so whether it's quotes or online events, you can shorten some of the um, the URLs that are generated by these different programs with this, but I didn't really cover that today because of time. Okay. Send me an email, Brian. I saw that you sent me. Send me an email, ken@kqc.ca, if you have any questions, or send an email to service@kqc.ca for a support follow-up. Okay. Okay, Sonia, if you only have the shortener set up, then you may want to go through and go into the settings, okay, to make sure that all your settings are here, workspace settings, okay? Make sure that you've enabled the teams and permissions, okay, that all the people have access to the different programs, okay? Didn't really have time to go through all the nuts and bolts of the settings because I wanted to more show you what you have available to you. But you can get support from service@kqc.ca. Please email if you have any questions like that, and we can work with you. Especially if you've got Orange Care, we can actually log in and help you. Okay. We are about 10 minutes after. I do apologize. I tried to get done, but I also wanted to not ignore your question. Chris asked, what should we do with our Link to Calendar now? Link to Calendar is the same program. If you want to migrate your settings over to ActAdvantage and not continue paying for Link to Calendar, I wouldn't blame you a bit because now it's available free. If you've got the Team Edition and you're paying 120 a year for Link to Calendar Team, then you're only going to get the standard version in this. Okay, so just be mindful of whether which tier you've got, and you can decide for yourself. Okay, but I certainly don't expect anyone to use to pay for an add-on that's available free. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I know this was long. It covered 70 minutes, but I really am excited that these features are now available to all of you. And I hope that this provided a general help you understand the new value that you've got with your subscription. Thank you all for your time. I will prepare the recording and send it out tomorrow. Make it a great day. Take care.